Well, hello, welcome to the Woo. My name is Lucas. I'm the pastor here, and I'm hoping you're having a great day so far. I'm really excited to share this message today through video. This is a little bit different, it's a little creative, but that's one of the things I love about the Woo. There's just so many of you that are creative people. You're artists, you're people that are involved in acting or actresses, or you work with them, or you are writers or photographers, or you're painters, or you work in some kind of other medium. So many of you are musicians. We got some on stage every week that are great. Some of you are not on stage, but you also are serious musicians in your own right. You do a lot of great things. A lot of creative endeavors going on here at the Woo, and that's really great. It reflects itself in our services. So on Sunday, oftentimes we'll have a movie clip during the message, and we have had in the past, and maybe in the future, maybe even the near future, we've had dramas. We've had dances before. We've had all kinds of fun things. Our band that plays here on Sunday, I mean, aren't they great? They're just really awesome, right? Yeah, good idea. Let's give them a hand. Good job. Yeah. Way to go, guys. You guys are great. That's totally true. We're hoping that we become even more creative as we go into the future. We are hoping, for instance, that we would have this Art at the Woo Day that we've been thinking about, where we all kind of come together, invite some friends in, and we just make art here at this building, where we make some mosaics or some murals, or we kind of make this place more at home for us and more kind of expressive. We're hoping that we could have these periodic nights called encounter nights, so maybe once every couple months, where we get together and we combine spiritual experience with artistic expression. And I'm really excited about what we've been talking about with those nights. We've talked to local artist groups about having them display their art in our cafe area. We have one big event coming up that you should know about, February 26th. It's our first big concert where we have some pretty famous local musicians coming, as well as some artists that will come and display their art and sell their art, and it's a benefit for Haiti. And so if you're an artist or you know artists, you might want to sign up on your connection card where it says Haiti Benefit Concert, planning for that. Sign up for that so that we can connect about it and get involved. But if you're a person or if you know people, get them out here for that day. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be 7 to midnight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Please come for that. Don't miss it. So we have some fun things like that happening. Back to our band, we've had some original songs written in this church, and we've sung them together, and they're going to be doing more of that from what I hear, and that's really great because that's actually a part of the legacy of the Vineyard movement, which the Woo is a part of the Vineyard. The founder of the Vineyard was actually a Righteous Brother from that kind of famous band, and so he was very musical, and he almost single-handedly started the contemporary worship movement in churches. And so if you were in the 80s and you were singing a song and it wasn't him, it was probably a John Wimber song. He had a lot to do with getting those songs into the churches at that time. And that's continued in the Vineyard. There's been some other bands of late, like from the Melrose Vineyard in California. The band Lifehouse was their youth group band, and now they've become a famous band. And then the band Switchfoot, which was like the children of one of the pastors, and they've gone on done pretty well. So that's really exciting that there's all this creativity. There's actually another Vineyard guy that wrote a book. His name was Andy Crouch. It was a book I just picked up at the Worcester Public Library not too long ago called Culture Making. And Andy argues that making culture is embedded into humans. Like, we all, whether it's small scale or large scale, want to make culture. And he makes this passionate plea for people of faith to create groundbreaking culture in the larger culture, not in like our little Christian subculture, but for everybody. And it's been a familiar complaint that Christians don't really move culture forward. That what we do is we just imitate the thing that's hot in culture and just kind of make it for ourselves. And so he has all these kind of thoughtful ways to encourage us to make culture, like through art. And he, along with other people, have pointed out that Protestants actually have been pretty bad at this whole culture making and this art kind of thing for a long time, whereas Catholics and Anglicans have done much better. And I think it's because of their emphasis on sacrament. Sacrament, this idea of like there's this mysterious thing that we do, like baptism or communion, that actually we don't really understand why, but it has this deep impact inside of us. It helps us connect with God. It does this kind of really neat thing, like art. Protestants don't really talk about that so much. They talk about more like the Word, right? Where it's about, clearly preaching the gospel and teaching the Bible, the word, right? And it's kind of this utilitarian way of having this goal, and the greatest goal is, to convert to Jesus. And so that's what we kind of put all our energy into, is kind of making that happen. And that leads us into all kinds of different places. And so Catholics, who are their heroes? They're the saints, right? Saints like Joan of Arc. What did Joan of Arc do? Well, she was a 14-year-old French girl who was praying and felt like she was told to, kind of fight off the British. And so she dressed like a boy and, led the army out to fight off the British, and she won. And then she was burned at the stake as a heretic. That's the hero. Protestants, who are their heroes? Well, they're people like Billy Graham, preachers, people that, if they make art, they're making art to change people, to become Christians. And there's a word for art that's used to try to change the audience, and it's propaganda, right? And propaganda is not lasting art. So for example, how many people here have seen the Billy Graham films in the 70s and the 80s? Anybody? No? I prove my point. Propaganda is not lasting art. And maybe the reason why Protestants kind of focus on this, and I'm a Protestant, I don't know if you are, but I think in some ways it's because we want to be good representatives of Jesus. We want to be loyalists. We want to make sure that, whatever we're doing, if it's art or whatever it is, that we're like, being obviously Christians, that we're wearing our faith on our sleeves. We're not ashamed of the gospel, and so we want to make it clear that, this is what we believe, and that's not a bad thing. But, Catholics and Anglicans, they kind of don't have the same kind of, axe to grind as we do. So they have people like John Milton. John Milton wrote this epic story, this amazing kind of biblical kind of account where the hero of the story, the kind of compelling figure, was Satan. And it was great, but it was also kind of scandalous, and so he had to make up for Paradise Lost, and so he wrote Paradise Regained, where Jesus was the hero of that one. But no one reads Paradise Regained, they only read Paradise Lost. Other kind of people like Flannery O'Connor wrote about serial killers and rapists who get off scot-free in the end. And Dostoevsky, he wrote about murderers and atheism after he became a follower of Jesus. And other people like J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, Victor Hugo, Leo Tolstoy, Dante, they weren't trying to make this clear presentation of the gospel. Even Mother Teresa, she was famously asked one time, she was asked, why do you even bother doing what you're doing? Like, look at all the hurting people in Calcutta. You're hardly making a dent in that place. I mean, you're helping only a few amount of people, even if you could call it helping. I mean, you're not really helping them. And my wife was there, so she saw it. She told me about it. She was there for 3 months. And the Mother Teresa Home for the Dying, which was aptly named because it's a place where people came and died. No one got better there. There's no medical treatment. They just, Mother Teresa would hug a bunch of people and watch them die. And so she was asked, like, why do you do that? And this was her response. She said she did what she did among the poor because it was something beautiful for God. Something beautiful for God. Something that, doesn't actually, have a lot of, payback. We don't see a lot of results, but it's worth doing anyway. Protestants were like, what are you talking about? Sure, hug them, but then set up a medical clinic and have a preacher there to convert them to become followers of Jesus. They didn't do any of that stuff there. And yet, when I think about the rich history of artists and the litany of writers that I just kind of went through in the Orthodox Church, I think, well, okay, who do the Protestants have? What have we added to the world of literature? The Left Behind series, right? Or a bunch of how-to books on, what we've learned, what we've been doing well about connecting with God, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, that has been hugely helpful to so many people of faith. But hasn't helped anybody outside of faith, right? But the arts transcend that. The arts are kind of go between people of faith and people that are secular. It kind of speaks to culture at large. It's like sacrament. The best art is kind of something that it can be left by itself. It goes in you and does something on its own. It's just beautiful. It's mysterious. It touches you deeply. Which brings up the question, what does art do? There's actually been a million theories about this, even in conservative Protestant circles. They've been talking a lot lately about, taking back Hollywood for God or for morality, and yet, after all these different studies about, what does art do, they've concluded that you can't prove that art actually does anything.